What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Now, we're doing episode 2, which is game mode design. So if you haven't seen the first episode, go watch it. We talked about champion design and how Kabam can actually make a few changes in their game design philosophy and help champion design not seem as toxic. All right, we covered it extensively, and for this episode, we're talking about game mode design. So the first critique I have with MCOC's game modes is that endgame content is not exactly endgame. It is simply whatever's the hardest content at this given time. And the biggest reason that it feels this way is because the rewards are outdated, or they get outdated really quickly, and champion and players who reach these game mode levels at a later time don't necessarily have the same incentive to do these excruciatingly long endgame content. All right. A simple solution to fix this from Kabam would just be to replace endgame rewards with simple loot boxes. Now, these loot boxes are basically a copy paste of the selector design. Okay, we have selectors in games that already give different tiers of rewards based on your progression level. Okay, let's say today me as a Valiant player completes Necropolis. Well, I know what rewards I'm getting, right? But what happens if 2 years from now a new player who started the game today ends up at the Necropolis in 2027? There's definitely going to be so much of a shift in where the game is at that player can now get every reward the Necropolis offers by simply doing a month's side event. What is the incentive for them to go through this excruciatingly long content that Kabam designed as endgame content? However, if Kabam would just introduce loot boxes, they could now update the reward. All they would have to do is replace the reward selector with a new selector with a new added tier of rewards. This would make it extremely more accessible for newer players because the new tier of rewards that this game design has, that this game content has, is now relevant to them. Okay, let's say there's a reward for Paragon players today. Okay, 2 years from now, maybe the same exact content can have the next tier, which is the Valiant tier, let's say, of rewards that they can access if they do the content at that time. Or just easy ways to replace the rewards without having to completely redo a bunch of these quests. Now, what I would suggest is that because this system wasn't already in place, Kabam should start a timer on existing endgame content like the Labyrinth, Abyss, and Necropolis for, let's say, 3 to 6 months, after which these 3 quests will permanently expire. Kabam can then reintroduce these 3 quests exactly as they are, but as a new story mode sort of design, calling it Decade of Dread, where all of these 3 game modes, these game contents, can now be a Crucible style, right? A Crucible style design where you fight, let's say, 20 or 30 champions back to back. These would be the highlights of these fights, right? These quests that were extremely relevant when they came out that are now essentially extinct. But the rewards would be updated to the loot box design. Number one, it would have a lot of new players or players who now are at a level where these quests don't mean much to them actually go in and try this old content with newer, fresher champions. And it would also give endgame players a new taste of what this old content used to be. Most endgame players will 100% be able to blow past these quests with the newer champions, but I think that is what would make it fun, at the same time preserving its significance for the future of the game. Next game work design that I personally don't find was a 10 on 10 is the update to the daily event quests. So I see this as a win, but I do think that they slightly missed the mark in what this game mode is supposed to achieve. Okay, so hear me out. the daily essentials quest, the daily catalyst harvest, and the weekly supply run. Okay, these are all undisputedly auto fights for any player who is valiant. Okay, these are 3 different quests, technically 4 if you choose to do 2 of the daily harvest quest like I do. This is at the least a 20 to 25 minute auto fight quest, which I have to open my phone and leave on and just wait till it's done. Now, in theory, I think, sure, when you have 15-20 minutes free in the day, just pop these quests on, let them do their thing. However, when most people who access the game to play the game, out of their maybe 1, maybe 2 hour window that they dedicate to playing this game every single day, if 20 to 25 minutes of that time is wasted auto questing, auto fighting 3 to 4 different quests, it gets dull. Okay, it doesn't seem fun. It's not necessarily something that you want to do every day. It's something that you have to do every day. And I think if you introduce game modes that people feel like they have to do, it is inevitably going to be toxic for the game going forward. So here's a very simple rework that Kabam needs to do to make daily quests actually fun. Step 1 is completely merge all 3 of these. Okay, the daily essentials, the catalyst harvest, and the weekly supply run can just be one single quest based on difficulty. All right, this can still be an auto fight fiesta. Okay, I don't mind this being auto fight. I like that it is auto fight. However, let's auto fight one quest. Okay, you can have the same amount of energy translated into one quest. So you need a full bar of energy to do one side and a full bar of energy to explore the other side. Simple and straightforward. You get all of the rewards, but it's just one quest. You remove the token system that you've built unnecessarily, I might add, and you reintroduce a simple boss rush that drops every week, that is recurring, and that is extremely easy, by the way. Okay, now this boss fight doesn't necessarily have to be auto fight enabled. Okay, so the supply strike, right? You see the one that have an X on the screen. Okay, so this one here, if you do the weekly supply run 4 times, then this opens every Sunday and you get to do it once and you get all of the rewards. Okay, and the rewards on this are actually really, really good. But I hate that those rewards are something that is at the end of an auto fight quest. Okay, you already have a lot of interesting defenders designed for earlier and older content in the game. So Night Carnage, Ice Phoenix, Gwenperion, these are really fun champion designs that Kabam has already made. So why not have a single one champion versus one boss quest that drops every week? Okay, you have 6 days to defeat Night Carnage. Then you do 6 days for Ice Phoenix. The same, and then at the end of the month, the final week, you have, let's say, Electro Luke. Okay, and what's interesting about this is that you have a bunch of YouTubers and content creators who already make free content for your game and bring engagement to this game. All right, they have new boss counters, they have new spreadsheets for every new thing that drops, they have guides, videos that they make. What this does is it drives engagement within the game's community, which is extremely important for a game like MCOC, which I might add would not exist today if it wasn't for the community. Okay, Kabam has made too many mistakes in the past where most of the player base would have just quit if it wasn't for the community. Okay, but they feel so close and so invested with the game that they put up with a lot of stuff, right? This is a good way for your game to get free engagement on a weekly basis. All right, think about it as how Netflix or Amazon Prime would drop a new episode on a show every week, and all of the Twitters and Instagrams blow up with engagement talking about what that week's episode was. That's what would happen with one single boss fight, because a bunch of people would just make tiny videos saying, here's how you fight Night Carnage, here's how you fight Ice Phoenix, and you need to have a certain champion to do this fight easier. When you run out of these bosses, you have really fun symbiotes, sentinels, doombots, and venomoids that you've also brought to the game. Use these as boss fights. Okay, we don't know what the mutant symbiote what champion it is. Maybe it's a Nightcrawler with a symbiote skin. Maybe it is a Jean Grey with a symbiote skin. Let the YouTubers make a video about this. Let them talk to the community. Let's all of us share in our little Discord chats about who the best counter for this week's champion is, and generate free engagement for your game. The rewards could be the exact same, but make the quest that they're actually getting these rewards from fun. Because without fun, you have dead content that is auto-farmed. And that just leads to the game edging into boredom. All right? Let's talk about arenas. This is one of the most difficult things or most controversial things that I'm going to recommend changing. And not necessarily because I'm recommending change, but because of the way I'm recommending it be changed. Okay? Arenas are outdated. There's no question about it. Okay? Everyone who has ever done arenas, or ever did arenas, or knows arenas exist, thinks it's a waste of time. Why? Because the rewards arenas give are, one, boring, and two, not aspirational. Okay? Gold and ISO are some of the most boring resources in the game. They've existed since you downloaded the game. 10 years in, they still exist. Most people just want gold and ISO to be out of their brains. They don't want to think about gold and ISO. That's why every time Kabam has created a game economy where gold and ISO is a struggle, players rant nonstop. Okay, a bunch of people who started the game may have also stopped playing the game because they couldn't get enough gold and ISO to rank up champions, and they were like, I don't want to bother with this. All right, so arenas definitely needs a refresh, and here's how I suggest you do it. Number one, the 4-star arena needs to have champions from 1 to 4 stars for early players who start the game and have not yet completed Act 6. So that whole demographic of player base needs to be pitched the 4-star arena. So they get these champions that are 1 stars, 2 stars, 3 stars, and 4 stars. And since they're just learning the game, they don't necessarily know what the stars and the champions mean, other than, I guess, the 4-star is stronger than the 3-star. But the way the game is right now, for most players who've started the game years ago, maybe don't realize this, but new players today move on to 5 and 6 stars within the first week of playing MCOC, which means 1, 2, 3, and 4 stars are irrelevant within 6 to 7 days of starting MCOC. You immediately start getting 5 stars, you very quickly move on to 6 stars, and the way the game's acts are now being buffed, you might even get into a 7-star before you even know or have most of your 6 stars duped or even your 5 stars duped. And that is incredibly insane because players will not be able to understand why they ranked up their 2 or 3 or 4-star champions, why they gave them those golds and ISOs when they could have just waited for 2 more days and gotten a 5-star and then waited a week to get the 7-star. So what a 1 to 4-star arena does is it gives newer players so much gold and ISO and that they definitely want to do arenas. Okay, the second reason that this 1 to 4-star arena is extremely important is because there's so many champions in the game now that unless that champion is on a act fight, most players are not familiar with these champions. They don't know what their specials look like. They don't know what their animations look like. And if they're in the arena getting golden ISO, a lot of golden ISO, might I add, I don't want golden ISO to be any kind of roadblock for newer players, which I definitely know that it is because my partner just started playing MCOC 3 months ago, and the number one complaint she has is, what can I sell to get some gold? I want to level up my champion. And there's never enough golden ISO. So having an arena where she can go in every day to grind and fight champions, getting introduced to newer champions, getting to use her older champions, and getting resources like golden ISO to rank up all of the 5 and 6 stars that she's now procuring at a faster rate makes this a must-have. All right, you have to go into the arena. You have to do the farming if you want the golden ISO. Next, the 5-star arena, I think, needs to be changed completely. Remove the champions from arenas and give 5-star arenas shard selectors. Okay, so everyone can go into a 5-star arena. The only champions you can use here are 5 and 6-star champions. And the only reward you get, every milestone that you earn out of this, is simply 6-star, 7-star, or 5-star shards, maybe, based on your progression. So let's say me, a Valiant player, goes in for the 5-star arena, grinds with my 5 and 6-star champions, which I, by the way, don't use anywhere in the game right now. I get 7-star shards. Completing the entire milestone of the 5-star arena gives me one whole 7-star, maybe even 2 7-stars. Okay, and I repeat this every single week, day over day, simply because 7-star shards are still something that I want. Because using my 5 and 6-star champions that are otherwise irrelevant is now giving me the next tier of champions, which is 7 stars. Okay, it's a simple fix, make arenas more important and significant. Finally, the 6-star arena. This arena, I think, should only have 5 and 6-star champions as well. I don't think 7 stars should be in arenas at all, because 7 stars are what you need to build as the current meta, which is that every other game mode you aspire to have a 7-star, which means 5 and 6 stars should only thrive in arenas. Okay, so have a 6-star arena that gives rank up resources. Again, these are selectors based on your progression level and your progression title. So you're using 5 and 6-star champions again here to get rank up resources like tier 6 basics or tier 3 alphas to rank up your 7 stars. If this is simply taking enough resources to rank up 7 stars to rank 2, and you want to gatekeep rank 3s at the moment, that's completely fine. Because 6 months from now, you can decide that the game is past rank 2 6 stars, and at the bare minimum, players should have rank 3s. All you would need to do is replace the selectors from the milestones, and immediately you have a more interesting game mode at your hands. What would arenas now look like? So the design sounds pretty good, right? Let's talk about what they would actually look like in a simple graphic. So you have 3 versus 3 arena game modes for 4 stars, 5 stars, and 6 stars. In the 4-star arena, you use champions ranking from 1 stars all the way to 4 stars. The milestone is simply a bunch of gold, a bunch of ISO selectors, and I would suggest make these class selectors based on what champion the newer players want to level up right now, so they can pick the class that this ISO, or the class that the selector can give. And battle chips. Battle chips are an amazing currency that I will address at length in my next video, but for now, just for the sake of conveying this message, the final milestone that needs to be included is battle chips. The second one is 5-star arenas. You only use 5 and 6-star champions. You get shard selectors, you get units, and you get battle chips. And the same applies for 6-star arenas. You get rank up resources for your 7 stars. If you are a Cavalier player, those rank up resources could be based on your progression title, which could be 6 stars. Again, easy to scale as time passes on. And you have your units and your battle chips. A final suggestion is completely remove rank rewards from arenas. The reason I suggest this is because I know that as a company that has to run these ranked based events, Kabam is definitely, even if it's a bit, they are definitely spending time and manpower and resources in making sure that arenas are running smoothly. So they could have to eliminate bots from rank rewards. They could have to make sure the rank reward goes out. They probably have customer support dealing with players sending tickets every now and then saying that they did not get the rank rewards. All of that manpower can now be completely avoided. Okay, and they could be actually focusing on something else. All right, take away rank rewards, make arenas a consistent game mode that provides value to players at every progression level. And I think this is a very easy way to do that. Next game mode that I have a suggestion for is AQ. It's not much of a suggestion. Alliance quest sucks. We have enough quests. We have daily quests, we have story mode quests, we have endgame quests, we have side event quests. We also have Alliance War, which essentially at the end of the day is a quest. Let's not have another quest, okay? Raids is a very good design. Move Alliance War completely to raids. Okay, completely replace that mechanic. Have raids be a constant week over week design. Nightmare raids can be something that you introduce once a month based on what your goals are as whatever saga is going on. Okay, so for example, you have nightmare raids that give out these essences for the new idol champions. Great, do it once a month, but for every other week, make raids a regular thing. Alliance War. Alliance War is basically good. In my opinion, it is a very well designed game mode that has remained more or less consistent. I do have one major complaint slash update that I think Alliance War needs to have, which is the currency that it gives out. But again, that will be a separate video. So once you watch this, all of these videos are going to be out at the same time, so you can just move on to the next video. But yeah, the only thing I would say to make Alliance War actually a little bit more interesting is you update the map and the nodes once a year. The same nodes and the same map eventually gets boring, and I understand that it's too much work to do this on a regular basis. So if we can get a fresh map, a map that looks visually different once a year, I think that will immediately bring some more positive energy into this game mode altogether. And lastly, this is a very obvious change that Kabam needs to make, is replace solo raids. Okay, solo raids are not adding any value to the game. Okay, most people that I know have not even touched raids, the solo raids, since they came out. Not only that, the fights within raids are not exactly relevant to what raids or nightmare raids actually look like. Other than the 4 Thanos Scythe nodes and MODOK Mind Game nodes, other than understanding what that node is, this game mode is a complete dead weight. Replace solo game raids and instead put a champion test map. And this test map is the exact same test map that the CCP has access to. And I'm not saying this as someone who wants to make content on the game, so as a YouTuber I want to have a champion testing map for everyone. No, this is just a simple fix to the ever increasing burden of champions that are coming out year after year, where newer players will need a place to test champions with nothing to lose. Okay, you already have a test map for the CCP, scale it down a little bit, bring it to everyone else. Okay, make it a 5-star test map where you can use 3 and 4 stars to test against these champions. I don't know, but I feel like test maps is something that every player in the game should have access to. And the design of solo raids, where you can select what node the final boss has and what buff you as a champion get, already is amazing. Okay, this is a very cool niche mechanic that I don't think I've seen in any other game. Just change that and have that implemented within the champion test maps. So every time a champion is on a certain node, players can just pick the node that the champion boss is going to have, and they can test their champions and counters. All right, I hope you guys found some value with this. Excuse me. The third episode is talking about relics. That might be the shortest episode, low-key. So yeah, the link is in the description. Please comment what you thought about this particular video. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.